The verb demonstro, demonstrare in Latin means to show, and demonstrative pronouns are used to point out or show something. These are words like hic, this, ille, that, iste, also that, even is, idem, and ipse. This video will cover is, ea, id, the demonstrative that means that, but is also commonly used in Latin as the third-person personal pronoun. So the word for he, she, it, and they. First, here's the full declension of is, ea, id. We'll start with the singular, is, ea, id for the nominative, the genitive eius for all three genders, and that's a two-syllable word, eius, and the dative ei in all genders, and that's two syllables too, although sometimes this word is monosyllabic, ei. The accusative is eum, eam, id, because remember that the nominative and accusative are identical for neuters, and the ablative is eo, ea, eo. The plural forms are ei, although this one is often ii or just e in classical texts. Ai, ea for the nominative, because remember that the neuter nominative plural is the same as the feminine nominative singular. Eorum, earum, eorum for the genitive. Eis for all three genders in the dative. The accusative is eos, eas, ea, because remember that the nominative and accusative are identical for neuters. And the ablative plural is the same as the dative plural. Eis, eis, eis. So as with any word with 30 different forms, it can be pretty daunting to look at, and even to try to remember it all. I think Latin students everywhere have memorized this through rote repetition, and that's not that bad. Is, ea, id, eus, 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 ei, 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 eum, eam, id, eo, ea, eo, ei, ei, ea, eorum, earum, eorum, eis, 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 eos, eas, ea, eis, eis, eis. But you can also try to relate is, ea, id to things you maybe already know. The genitive singular eus is really similar to other demonstratives like ilius, other adjectives like unius, and even the relative pronoun cuius. Likewise, ei in the dative singular is like illi, uni, and qui. And the ablative singular is much like the first and second declension ablatives, the long o and the long a. The plural is much easier. These are the first and second declension endings, but with an e in front of them. E, I, for the nominative plural, orum and arum in the genitive, is for the dative and ablative, and os, as, for the accusative. So that's enough for the forms. Let's talk about use. Is, ea, id means that, but it's most commonly used substantively as a noun, more specifically as the third-person pronoun, he, she, it, and they. Is, eam, amabat. He used to love her. Ei, eos non viderunt. They, women, did not see them, men. Exercitus eos, his army. Well, literally the army of him, but we really should do this like we do it in English and say his, assuming eos is masculine, of course. I guess if we're talking about Boudica or Cleopatra, the eos would be feminine and mean her. Venit mihi tuus puer, is mihi literas redidit. Your boy came to me. He, that's the is, delivered a letter to me. The is refers directly back to the puer. Gender is important here because all Latin nouns have gender, and even if it doesn't make sense to us, the form of is, ea, id will reflect the gender of the noun it's referring to. So, Rhodanus fluit, isque non nullis locis vado transitur. This is from Caesar. The Rhone River flows, and it, meaning the river, is crossed by a ford in some places. The is here refers to the Rhone River, which is masculine, and so we use the is, even though we translate it in English as it. Aqua est foeda, eam bibera nolo. The water is filthy, I do not want to drink it. The eam refers to aqua, which is feminine, but in English we don't call water she, so when we translate the eam, we use it. One more note on is, ea, id as a pronoun. When you mean someone other than the subject, you use is, ea, id. So, dux exercitum eos vicit. The leader defeated his, referring to someone other than the leader, army. Puella eam vidit. The girl saw her, someone other than the girl. We would use either the reflexive adjective suus, or the reflexive pronoun se if we wanted to mean the same person as the subject. So, dux legatos ad se vocavit. The leader called the legates to himself. Narcissus se amabat. Narcissus loved himself. This is powerful information because you'll know exactly what's going on in situations where English is more, vague. Caesar dicet eum discessorum esse. Caesar says that he, someone else, will depart, versus Caesar dicet se discessorum esse. Caesar says that he himself, now we're talking about Caesar, will depart. Now, is ea id can also be used as a demonstrative adjective, and then it's just a milder form of ille. So, is dies erat calendae aprilis. That day was the 1st of April. Or from Cato, eum consulem qui non dubitet. That consul who will not hesitate. Is superis labor est. That is the work of the gods. Ea cura quietos solicitat. That concern troubles those at rest. And there you go. Is ea id in all of its magnificence. In some prose authors like Caesar and Cicero, this is one of the most common words, sometimes even the most common noun or adjective. It might not be poetic, but it's very functional and very important.